So, welcome to the main cut. I'm your host, Jade, and I'm really, really excited to be here today with our guest, Kendall Dorsey, who is a celebrity hairstylist who has worked with the likes of Yara Shahidi, Solange, Rowland, Rhianna, you name it, and Kendall has worked with them. So today we're just really grateful to have him here sharing not just his story, but word of wisdom. So Kendall, welcome to the show. We're really, really excited to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to share my story and my gifts with everyone who is watching. So let's do this.
Yeah. I mean, saying that, it would be great if you could start by telling us a bit about your journey into hairstyling. So where and how did it all start?
You know, I was raised in a small town, Annapolis, Maryland, and it was a very small town. So like doing hair for me correlated with my sexuality, which was being a gay Black man. And so I was afraid at first. I was afraid of the identity of hairstyling and all of those things. So I would hide and play with my Barbie dolls. One of my cousins, Kelly and Casey, we had my Aunt Sheila's house, and that was my safe space. We would literally like just hang out in the summer, and I was able to like play with the Barbie doll. Her name was Addie, and Addie was a significant doll in our community because you would get them like for Christmas, and you would get like clothes to add on to her, and she was like life size. So it was like something that was like a family tradition, and I would curl Addie's hair, and that's how at the beginning of it started. But the real beginning started when I was in about the the ninth grade, and I started on my best friend's hair, and people always ask her like, "Who does your hair?" And she could never tell because it was our secret. And then fast forwarding, I went to college, and when I went to college, I started as a shampoo assistant while in college. So I started shampooing hair, and then the year into the shampooing assistant, they was like, you know what, we got to let you go. You should go to beauty school. You're in the wrong profession. And so they fired me.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, they fired me. They're like, you really want to be a hairstylist, and the only way to do it is if you go to beauty school. They're like, you're in here talking to all of these people. You want to do their hair, and you're not licensed, Kendall. You must do what you need to do. And so that started my journey of being an unlicensed hairstylist, living in Philadelphia. I was in school, and I started doing everybody's hair for $15.
Wow.
Like I started giving you this basic haircut that I only knew how to do. My one mentor, her name was Deanna. Shout out to Deanna in Philadelphia. She taught me this one haircut, and I would give it you if whatever your hair length or texture was, that's what you would get for $15. And I got really booked until the school where I was attending was the Art Institute of Philadelphia. They kicked me out. They were like, "You're running a business, and you need to get an apartment." And that's when it really started. When I got my apartment, I set my living room up like a hair salon, and it just went wild in Philadelphia. Wow. So for like 2 years of my life outside of when I graduated college, I was an unlicensed hairstylist.
Wow. And it feels like, someone let you go because they could see that that was part of your calling. If they
Well,
said,
it was me. It was all God's work in me. I think that I grew up in very humble beginnings. So, college was something that was far and few in between in my home, my family dynamic. So while in college, I had to survive and survive. I never knew that I was going to actually be a hairstylist. I did it because I was good at it, and it was a survival mode. I thought that I would work in fashion. I have a fashion marketing degree. And so fast forwarding, when I graduated college, I moved back to Maryland for about 3 months, and I started to do people's hair. And then I immediately moved to New York City. And I moved to New York City, and I started working at this hair salon called Max Manson's Hair Studio. And I still was unlicensed. And this one guy, his name was Paul. He said, "Kendall, what are the levels haircut? Like, what is this degree of this haircut?" And I had no idea what he was talking about. He was like, "Kendall, tell me what 90 degrees meant." And I'm like, he was like, "You don't have a license." And then in that instance, I knew that I had to figure it out. So I moved back to Philadelphia. I started working again as an unlicensed hairstylist, and I got too busy. It became about the money. And so I stayed
Right.
for an additional 2 years after that. I was making enough money to live and do anything that I wanted to do at that time before social media really was taking off. And,
Yeah.
it was still about the hair salon. So if you were good at what you did, women were, it was what it was. And by
Mm,
this time, I had started to train with different hairstylists. I was learning different techniques, and
yeah.
my palette was, it was growing. Well, I ran into some turmoil in Philadelphia where life was just lifing, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna move home. I was still in my early 20s, and the marathon continues. I move home, and it gets bigger. At this time, I'm in Maryland where people are still wearing roller setted hair. So where you would roller set your
Oh,
hair and you style it
yeah.
with like heavy waxes and all of those things. Well, I was trained in Philadelphia where you were using the flat iron and you were really pressing the hair, silking it out and making it movable and touchable. And so when I
Oh.
went home, everybody was like, what is this? What is happening here? And so it blew up even more, and I became busier. So I worked for another 3 years unlicensed, moving from salon to salon in Annapolis, Maryland, a prestigious city. I'm talking about mixed race hair salons to your most African ethnic hair salon to your most cultural hair salon. I
Right.
worked in it. And one day I was like, you know what, Kendall, I really want more. When I started to work and I started to realize that I was back in my home community, in my hometown, it started to shift my mind and like I didn't
Mm,
feel like I was growing anymore.
mm.
And so social media was on the rise at this point, so it inspired that. So I found this school in San Diego. Well, initially I was going to go to Canada, but I found a
Okay.
school in San Diego, which was a 6-to-1 ratio. So there was only 6 students and one teacher. And your
Oh,
one teacher, you would get them for modules. So you would get one teacher for 3 months from Paris, one
right.
teacher for 3 months from London, and one teacher 3 months from California. And that
Right.
was your curriculum. And it was intense.
Okay.
And that's how I got started.
Wow. So, I mean, that's a wild start. And you mentioned that you went like several years being unlicensed before you made that decision and said, actually, I need to do this.
Almost 8 years.
8 years. And when that was happening, was it just like you said, you were doing your job so well that people were
It
not
was
bothered?
nerve-wracking. It was nerve-wracking because the limitations were on me of, how to actually color hair, how to
Okay.
really understand the element of cutting hair,
Yeah.
how to dive into your artistry and really make it your own. So when I started to realize that styling hair, there was more to styling hair, and if I could learn how to cut and color hair, I could explore the world of art in the world of hair. Because
Right.
I was raised in fashion. My mom was an etiquette teacher. So she used to host small fashion shows around our community and
Wow.
and so I was raised in the element of that. And
Okay.
so it was important to me to really like understand hair at a different level.
Mm,
And so when I went to this school, it was it was really tough because I was coming from already making money, already
yeah.
having an established name in the role that I was in, and
Mm,
now I'm a beginner again.
mm,
A beginner at a level where your confidence is totally broken down because you're with the best of the best. Like
yeah.
cutting hair and culling hair is like the best of the best. So it was a thing. It was a real big thing going on.
Wow. And like you said, it's an art, right? It's
It's
not
an
like
art form.
it's and so what was that process like going back to like learning how to do all of those different techniques and those different styles? What did that feel like and how did that play a role in taking your career to the next level?
Well, initially signing up for it was very exciting because I knew in my heart that I wanted something more for myself. Again, I came from very humble beginnings. So going for something that I knew that I could build a life outside of my circumstances was very
Mm,
important to me. But then getting into the curriculum it broke my ego down because you know, you are again from humble beginnings, and you rise up and you're starting to make money, and it's something new to you that you've never felt before. And now you're going to somewhere where people are telling you, you're not a hairstylist. You are here
Mm,
to learn. So my ego first was broken, and then I
mm,
learned characteristics about myself, things that I didn't even know about myself, and I learned along the way. So my humility was then built.
mm.
With those things, it driven me to wanting to really understand art and hair, because now I'm learning these serious skills. I'm getting an eye of hair that I've never even seen before, and even understood like runway hair, what it meant
Wow.
to have super shiny hair, what it meant to really have um, editorial hair. You know, I was
Yeah.
learning all of these things, and it was exciting for me. It was like something like, whoa, I really want to do this. This is something that I'm really into. And yeah, that's how it started. And that was the process of like, you know, my teacher, he really believed in me, but at the time I was younger, so I was like, yeah, you know, I know everything. I know what I'm doing. I'm this and I'm that. And he's like, yeah, you could be this and you could be that. And it didn't
Mm,
hit me until years later when I was becoming this and I was becoming that
mm.
of the things that I had learned and what it had done for me and my career.
No, that, I mean, it must have been, it sounds like it was an incredible ride, but also very humbling to go through that experience.
It was incredible because during the process, we were able to travel to London and go over to Vidal Sassoon and watch that curriculum cut because the owner of the school was the creative director from Vidal Sassoon.
Wow.
So all of the technique was Vidal's techniques. So they were very serious. It was very technical,
Oh,
very skilled. And so we got to go over to London and Paris for a week and really just open our eyes up and see the different forms of the hair world and how it changes, you know, beauty, the industry. And I started to like really think and dive in then like I want to be a celebrity hairstylist or I want to be an editorial hairstylist. And again, I was
right,
learning what that meant. So I still had no clue really. I just knew the title.
right. And so as you went along and you were like, this is the ambition now. I want to be that celebrity hairstylist. I want to be working on the editorials. What to you was the difference between a stylist that's in a salon and a stylist that's doing those jobs, that's on the editorial teams?
You know, a stylist in a salon is someone who takes care of the everyday woman. You normally see her from maybe once a week, bi-weekly, every
Mm-hmm.
4 weeks, or every 6 weeks. It works like that. So you build a relationship with them based off of their lifestyle.
Mm,
So whether it's a haircut for them to go into the office, or if they're dating freshly, or they're newly single, or they just want to change, it's a different skill set. Um, because it's an everyday woman. So you may be doing things that are a bit more softer and approachable.
yeah.
With editorial styling, it is for the magazine, it is for the photography. So it is a fantasy. It is something that is, you have to learn how to build shape. You have to learn how to use things that are, you have to learn things outside of hairstyling, more of artistry and building, craftsmanship.
Mm,
You have to learn rhythm of art, color, schemes, because you're putting together a fantasy for something that is a continually moving piece of art. Meaning like it's the different seasons changing and you are, you know, you're working with different magazines that have different visions for their magazine. So someone
yeah.
may see for something sleek and then someone may want something like totally cultural, meaning like tribal from Africa. And you have to learn these things, how to build these ideas. And so it's totally two different things. It's totally two different. And I had no idea what I was getting myself into when I was one.
So that, I mean, that leads nicely to my next question, which is, how did you get your first opportunity to work in on that side of the chair, like with the celebrities, with like editorials in fashion? How did you get your very like first break there?
Well, it's more of like it was more of like a flow of things. what I did was I moved. So when I moved back, so when I graduated uh, art school, I was in a relationship in Washington D.C. So I moved back, continued my relationship, and I got a job at this place called Parlor Salon in Washington D.C. And it was a multicultural salon based around cut, color, and curly styling. And one of the owner of the salon, Rebecca Henley, which is my mentor, she was very strong at building your character as a hairstylist, meaning you had to be on time. You had to know your color formulas. You had to take education. It was not a if in her salon. So I was grateful enough to be in a space and an environment that encouraged me to go harder. And so one day there was this brand, Orbe. Orbe is a phenomenal hairstylist who cultivated people like Jennifer Lopez and um, um, just so many like of the iconic models, Naomi Campbell from back in the day in those
Yeah.
early 90s. And so he was branded and he had this dry texture spray and it was like luxurious. The smell would captivate anybody because it was so luxurious. And so I was really into it. And they had a class, and it was a class if you sold the most retail in the salon, that you would be able to go to New York City and experience this course. Well,
Wow.
the hustler in this man, the the drive that is in me from my earlier beginnings, meaning like coming from situations with parents with having drug addiction and all of those things, it gave me a fight to really want to go harder for every single thing that I wanted in my early 20s. So we had that competition and I won. I won that competition. I went to New York City and it was like an aura was placed over my head because I walked into this room and it was just filled with so many artists and creatives that I had never seen before, like things that I had just never, like, well, imagine going to New York City and people from around the world are coming to New York City in their best fashions, the wildest hair, and just sitting in this room. And I just wanted more. And so they rolled out a curriculum that you could take this course every other month. The course was $1,100. I would get on the bus from New York City, from Washington, D.C., or the train bi-monthly, pay it out of my pocket. I would stay at this one particular hotel because it was a price that I could afford and it was cleanly enough for me to stay there.
Yep.
And I started taking these classes. By the seventh class, one day I was like 15 minutes late, like really late because of traffic. And I walked in, he goes, "Here's one of our very own." And I was like, "Oh, wow, okay." And I got a call. The call was from the brand Orbe for me to go and travel with them for 1 year to train on how to become an educator in editorial styling. So
Wow.
that's when it all started. The advantage then, I learned how to tease hair. I learned the element of how to romanticize hair, how to build multiple wigs. Like this, Orbe was a man of king of editorial styling. So I got it firsthand to
Wow.
travel the world. And then I became an educator. And when I became an educator, I stayed with them. I was going back and forth to New York. New York became like a second home to me. I started to like find the niche and build friends, and my fashion started to change. I started to explore museums, and I started really diving in. And one day I was like, you know what? I'm doing this. I moved to New York City. I started assisting Yusef Williams, and Yusef Williams is Rhianna's hairstylist, and he kind of gave me my first start. And then I was assisting someone. Her name was Lacey Redway, and Lacey Redway, uh, she had took me on a job, and the job was with Tiana Taylor, and Tiana Taylor liked me on this job, and so
Okay.
she asked me for my information, and it was a big no-no for me because I was super hungry. I was not supposed to do something like this, and I gave her my information. And it then backfired on me. It backfired on me because I didn't have the level of respect that I should have for the artist that was giving me a space to grow in. I was just
Right.
eager and hungry. So shout out to Lacey Redwood for giving me that space and, teaching me how to have better characteristics and show up for our community. And it was a time of social media and I was excited and Tiana was my first start, but it definitely backfired on me. But I stayed with Tiana for about a year, almost a year, and then I moved to Yara, and then Nikki Minaj, and then Justine Skye, and then it started from all of that.
Wow. And that, I mean, it
But
sounds
I
like it
say
went
I
from
share that
one.
story about Lacey Redway to any artist that is listening, and you ever in a situation like that. We all get eager and we all get hungry. Let me
Mm,
be a lesson that backfire.
mm,
It backfired on me for almost 2 years of my career. It backfired with my character. My people were looking at me as a character flaw. I kind of was like
mm.
in this circle of people that were like, not so sure about him, and I had to prove myself that you know I am a good guy and I am an artist and I am a man that deserves all of these things as well. And I do apologize and all these things. So like I say, like, take your time,
Yeah.
learn the ropes. Really, really, really take your time. I was hungry, I was eager. It worked. It did. I gotta say it worked. But it that in those moments, it felt awful to know that I was in a situation like that.
Yeah. And I mean, sometimes it takes making those, you
Mistakes.
mistakes to learn and grow and understand that it was the outcome that you wanted, but not in the way that you wanted it.
I mean, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
It was the outcome that happened. Particularly, I can't say that I wanted because I didn't go into the job wanting to do Tiana Taylor as a client. I was still
Yeah.
interested in assisting, but it was the outcome that happened because of
Mm.
my decision making, is what I would say.
One
She's
of
a phenomenal artist, a big, huge artist, and I have much respect for her and her work. I
the,
sought after her, so it was me. It was just me being a young guy. But she and we're good now, and I like to share this story for other people to have something to fall back on and say, you know what, I won't do something like that.
yeah. That's really important. It's important for us to learn from from the mistakes of others. So there are
Hmm.
other stylists that are listening to this that will be aspiring to be in the position that you're in a few years, or they might be at the very, very beginning, and hearing that story tells them, okay, if I'm in that situation, that's not the thing to necessarily do. But it sounds like a lot happened very quickly. So it sounds like it went from working as an educator and then going on and doing these jobs. And, you know, I can imagine that a lot of challenges have come your way since you've started. And
A
it would be
lot of
great to
challenges,
hear,
yes.
what are some of the biggest challenges that you faced along the way?
Whew. I think as an artist, some of the biggest challenges from the start of being an artist is art is subjective. So whether it's hair with a paintbrush, with a makeup brush, whatever form of art it is, it's subjective. And you go into it believing in only you first. It is something that God is a God given gift,
Mm,
an idea first. And so some of the challenges for me is getting a client like Nicki Minaj and thinking that you're ready for her
mm,
and not just in the skill sets, but in other skill sets. And then um, you work with a client for some time, then you lose the job, and that never happened to you before. You've
mm,
never been let go from a job. You've only worked in a hair salon. You've
mm,
only done this. You've only done that. You're in your 20s, approaching your 30s, and then something like this happens. You're
mm,
imagine being at the top of the top, or you getting a phone call from the Nicki Minaj.
mm,
You're traveling the world. You're flying a jet. Things. Imagine being from just just humble beginnings and putting that first right foot on a jet, and then the
mm,
left foot, and then you're on the jet, and then you have the seats, and then you're at the next location, and then you're at the next location, and then the cameras are flashing, and then you get the pictures, and then your portfolio's growing, and all of these things are happening.
mm,
And now the artist is looking for something different because it doesn't have anything to do with you and your skill set. Maybe they're changing fashion in their cycle, and they need a different artist. So they have to
Mm.
move on from you. Skirt!
Mm.
Your world stops. Everything stops. What do you do? What have I done? Oh my goodness. Should I go home? Is this over? Am I going to fail? How am I going to get another client? Who's going to teach me how to do this? There you go. And in that, you have to you got to put on some big boy panties. What I've learned in those challenges, I got closer to God.
Mm.
I had to understand that I can't control this, and what is promised to me will be promised to me. And it took me back to the Bible, seriously. And I don't mean to go that deep, but it's that deep in this business. You have to have a strong foundation because those kind of things come up. And guess what? This business is beautiful. Like, don't let me sit here and tell you that because those kind of things happen that it is a beautiful business. You do get to ride on the jet if you never run on the jet before. You do get to work in these capacities that you've never worked in before. You do get to style some of the biggest artists in their career path that has worked so hard to build something up so beautifully, and you get to experience this part of life. It is beautiful, but we're talking about challenges. I don't want to scare everybody away. The challenges can get tough. And yeah, that was one of my challenges is learning how to accept when it's time to break away from a client or accept when the client is moving on from you. That's a tough one. That's a really
Yeah.
tough one because there's no guidebook that tells you that this is going to happen. So you have to learn this. And it comes with some real humbling. And it can mess with like as what Beyonce said, when you are an innovator, you have to innovate and then you have to do the job. And then there's criticism. And after criticism, it can mess with your mental states. So, you know, I had to do some really some deep work to was able to withstand this business. And I had to learn how to have a skin that was strong enough to be able to understand that business is business.
Hmm. No, and I mean, what were some of the things that you really uncovered about yourself in those periods where it was like, this is tough, this is hard, I have a lot coming at me? What was it like? What was the biggest learning that you had about you?
I think a few of them will be that to accept the fact that I was afraid, to accept the fact that I didn't know what the next step would be and I didn't know how to even get to the next step, to accept the fact that I had to get to the next step. At the end of the day, it's going to be at the end of the day, in the words of Glorilla. And that's what I had to accept. I had to accept that, Kendall, you're going to have to go into these rooms, sometimes being the only colored male person there, and stand there with your shoulders up,
Mm.
knees sweating, afraid to be in these rooms with you never done a Vogue cover before. You don't even
Mm.
understand the language of what they're talking about. But you must see you weren't placed in this room to go and showboat. You were here to learn to how to
Mm.
have this conversation. What does this conversation look like? How do you go home and now dive into this and do the research of what these brilliant artists that has done the work that is now teaching you a whole new understanding of art form.
Mm.
And so I had to learn that I didn't know it all, that I wanted to know a lot about my business. I had to really like ask myself, how far do you want to go with this?
Mm.
Like, where are you willing to go? Are you willing to fail? Are you willing to
Mm.
fail a million times to just get that one yes? And that's what I've learned in this business is that it just takes one yes.
Yeah.
It just takes one yes. It may take a while to get that one yes, but it takes one yes. And that one yes can lead to a lot of other yeses.
Oh, that's so true. And we've heard a few people say that. Um, and for there are going to be stylists listening to this, people who, like I said before, they're building their careers, they're at the early stage of their careers. What advice do you have for them? The ones that are like, I want to be the person that's on that shoot, that's doing that cover of Vogue, that's traveling with that artist. what advice do you have for them?
The advice that I would say to someone who has that dream, and you got to figure out first, if you're living in a smaller city away from the major cities, meaning like New York City, Los Angeles, Tokyo, all of those places where you can really go there and build a community. I would say start by moving to a city. Before you move to that city, you want to research 5 to 10 agencies. Find those agencies in those cities. Build a relationship with the agency. How you build a relationship is you send an email saying, I want to get on 1, 2, 3 of their artists on their roster. So if you call whatever agency, you say, I'm looking to get on Kendall Dorsey's, Yusuf Williams, I would love to be on their assisting list. What that will do for you is it will allow you to be able to get a phone call to come to whatever city it is. See if you even like this workspace, if it's even meant for you, and experience it a few times before you take that dive in that leap. Because this business is meant for someone who really wants it. And when I say that, I mean it with all sincerity. Sometimes you're getting 3:30 in the morning phone calls to be at someone's house at 3:30 in the morning, and you're with that client from 3:30 in the morning sometimes until 1 a.m. the next morning.
Oh.
So you have to want it. You're sometimes on a plane from somewhere in the country going to another job with no sleep. So you have to want it. You're sometimes working for no money to get this photo because of what it's going to do for you in the social aspect. So you got to want it. Assisting will help you understand what it is that you want in this business. It will help to navigate you on how to build your kit, to get ready and prepared to go on a photo shoot. It will teach you how to dress, how to smell, how to properly groom your skin. There's certain things and certain etiquettes in this business that take you further than just your skill set with your hands. You have to know how to present yourself in front of the clients. What does your breath smell like? What do your nails look like? Like, how are you presenting yourself? Well, if you have 5 jobs in one week and they're all different brands, how do you present yourself on each 5 of these days? Because if I'm working for Fenty, I can't go and work for Target the same way. It's 2 different cultures. So you have to learn these skill sets. And I'm grateful that I was able to work with Yusuf in such a big magnitude. I mean, he works with the biggest person in the world, and he really showed me the way. And I'm so grateful for him because not only for me, my mentor, he creates spaces for other people in this world. And, I'm grateful for that space. I'm grateful to be able to continue that for other people and to have people like that showed me and not just showed me, that cared for me and loved me enough to help me build my own identity in this business.
No, I mean, it's kind of the definition of, the people that want it the most are going to do the things that most people don't want to do.
Yeah, like not being away from your family on holidays,
Yeah.
and you're missing things, and and your people don't oftentimes in this business it's something that's misunderstood. You don't understand it until you're actually almost 10 years in this business, and then one day it smacks you in your face. This is how it goes, and now this is how I'll operate my life. But while you're building that, your parents don't understand. Your siblings don't understand. Your cousins don't understand. Your best friend, you lose boyfriends, girlfriends, because you're working hours that you didn't even know. I didn't sign up to know that I would work sometimes 16 to 23 hours a day. I didn't know that. So, but this is the passion. And if it's in you, you don't give a fuck about what someone thinks about if you work 23 hours a day. This is something that you're roaring on the inside. Your feet are hurting, your back hurts. But coming through the threshold at the end of a 23-hour day is the most rewarding feeling in the world. When you have worked your ass off to get to that 23-hour day, to get to the people in that room, to get to the lights on those cameras to get to the artist that is behind that development.
Mm.
I'm gonna work those 23 hours until I can't. Until my children, I'm all broken up and I'm be able to say, I have a husband and this is what daddy did in his time.
No, I love that. And I mean, it would also be great to hear what's that memory? What's that one memory that you will share with your family?
I think the one memory that I will share with my family is who inspired me. You know what? Let me say that back. It's not just one memory because it's so many memories. But
Mm.
my mom, I'm adopted. I have two moms, but I'm adopted, and my mom, she she would take me around in her car to these stores like Marshalls and Ross and TJ Maxx in our community, in our hometown,
Mm.
and she would get these racks of clothes, and it would be beautiful dresses and beautiful suits and all of these things. And so I would thank my mom for inspiring me to be rambunctious in my career, to be relentless in my career, to give God grace and thanks to everything in my career. So that would be the memory. It's thanks to to the foundation who did this. You know, that's the memory. But if I have a memory of a celebrity, is when Kelly Rowland makes me pancakes.
That's
Or
so
when Yara Shahidi Carrie mom makes she sends you her homemade chocolate brown butter cookies. That
oh.
for me is memories because that's love. That's like that's something that is of community, and I'm a man of community. I'm a man of like sharing my faults and sharing my things because it only helps someone to go to learn. And again, you don't
Mm.
have a guidebook in this business. There's no
Yeah.
guidebook that tells you, hey, don't give your information away, or you're going to get X, Y, and Z, or hey, don't do this, or don't no this. There's no books of that. There's no book.
Mm.
There's no book. And so it
Mm.
can be pretty grueling learning this along the way.
Mhm.
And it can definitely break you down, but it definitely builds you up. But you got to keep some softness while you're being built up because it can definitely give you a thick skin.
Mm.
And so I try my hardest to stay focused, to just keep my head above water, but my head grounded, and do the best that I can in the art that I see fit for the world. And it's been working, and I'm grateful to God.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing to hear all of the things that you've not just the things that you've done, but what you've been through and how it's kind of brought you to where you are now. I think being able to be on the outside and see that happen for someone, that's an incredible thing to watch. And I'm sure there's plenty of people that you've inspired and continue to inspire along the way. People that want to be the next person that gets to support the likes of Kelly Rowland and anybody else. Um, and saying that, what other stylists inspire you to
Oh
do
my
the great
goodness,
work
I'm
that you do?
so inspired by. Again, like I started off working for Yusuf William and Lacey Redway. They inspired me. Those were two artists that really, believed in me. But I'm also like, if I'm going to like references, Guido Palau is one of the persons, the artist to go to if you're looking for art and to be inspired by. Jawara, another artist who inspires me to really, really like just push and elevate my career. Rebecca Henley, she's a salon owner, was one of my mentors who showed me what it meant and what it looked like to take your career seriously. Ashley
Mm.
Taylor at Taylor and York in Washington, D.C., another salon owner. Wicked with everything that she does. Quarita Futrell, another salon owner. All of these different artists inspire me. Devontae Washington, Tim Wallace, it's so many people who inspire me. I'm a man of it. I'm inspired. I love community. I really do. I
Mm,
love to be inspired. I love to see people and see them do what they do and do it well.
mhm,
Arrogant Tay, all of these people, all of these artists have different things that they do and different notes that inspire me. I learn from. I'm always learning. I always like to
mm,
take classes with the younger generation.
mm,
These wig classes and what they can teach you, and all of these things. They're bringing out things back from like the '90s, from the baby hairs, and they really like making it. They, of course, baby hairs are old now, but the newer generation brought that back out on wigs, and they
mm,
turned it around into something that's been iconic to me. And
mhm,
so I'm inspired by that. I'm also inspired by the hairstylists who still use the curling irons, like Chuck Amos. Like, he still uses that hot curling iron. He was the editorial guy that
mm,
laid it down for the black men in this world to be able to dream, to look up to something like that.
mm.
Hmm.
I mean, that's an so many people on that list. So many
Yeah,
people on that list. Probably a lot of people that we should speak to as well. But
yeah,
thank you for
for sure. A lot of people you should speak to.
we will definitely will. But thank you for for um for sharing that. And a couple of questions from our community.
Let's go.
So from the people that are trying to figure out how to better manage their hair, trying to figure out how to be a better hairstylist. I think one of the biggest challenges that we hear from women is how do they understand their hair? How do they understand what they should and shouldn't be doing with their hair? So, what advice do you have for people who are at the very beginning of that journey of discovery when it comes to their hair care?
So in terms of, you said, so the everyday woman,
Yes, the everyday woman.
I think it's very important to use Google these days and research your community of hairstylists. I think you should see a professional in your town and allow the professional to be the professional for you.
Hmm.
Find someone that caters to your hair type, texture,
Hmm.
something, find a salon that feels like home to you, that you can go in there and explore where it is that you want to be. You have some salons that are super chic. You have some salons that are so edgy. You have curly specialist salons. There's so many things that you can really just dive into. I think it's important to, if you can do this, budget your hair. Make sure this it's a part of your monthly budget. Hair is your crown. And when I was in the hair salon, when you would leave my chair, it was very important for me to make you feel as beautiful and as special as possible. So not only when you're going to a hair salon to see a professional, you're coming out with a boost of confidence. And I know when I get my hair cut, I feel beautiful. I feel like I want to take a picture. I want to put on my good suit. I want to go on a date, maybe go to church. I want to do things that make me feel like I'm special versus when I
Mm.
when I don't have my hair done. So I think, circling back to the question is finding someone in your neighborhood or your community, social media, anywhere that fits your home, that fits your space, and build a relationship with them.
No, it's a good point, and I agree with you. We kind of live in an information age now where people want to look for things online, and that's all good and well, but that's not the same as speaking to somebody that's been doing it, living that for
No, it's like
5,
if you
10,
go to the
15
doctors.
years.
If you go to
Yeah,
the doctors for ear infection or a cold, the doctor is trained to teach you
yeah,
how to manage that
yeah.
pain at home. So this is the
Mhm.
same way with the hairstylist. We give you a haircut or a color or a treatment, and it allows you to then manage what you have at home so that you can then come back and reservice it,
Yep.
for however your budget works. But I say really budgeting it in. If you have that space in your family, your home,
Mm.
that's important to find someone that you like, make a budget. Even if you see them just 3 to 4 times a year.
Yeah. No, that's so true. And on that, another challenge that people have is with products because there's so many of them. there's so many products, there's so many ranges, and most of the time people don't know where to start or even where to finish. Do you have any favorite product ranges that you think these guys make, what they make is high quality, is good?
You know what I really love is Color Wow, the brand. Color Wow is a solution-based product brand. So they have shampoo for all hair types and textures, color treated shampoos. They also have Curl Wow. Curl Wow is another solution-based system, shampoo and conditioner holy grail. Styling products are built to be weightless and free form. So they really help to build the integrity and the cuticle of the hair so that the hair is bouncy and it's voluminous and it's shiny and it's wet. So I stand behind Color Wow and Curl Wow. Those are in
Okay.
my kit at all times, from shampoo to styling products.
Okay. We'll make sure that we add links to those so anybody that's listening can go and check them out afterwards. Um, but one for the stylists, actually. So, what are some of the big mistakes that you see stylists or you have seen stylists making when they're working with clients or managing textured hair?
Um, that's a broad question. I can speak from my mistakes. Some of my mistakes is like really understanding how to lubricate the hair when it's dehydrated versus when it's over chemically treated. It's two different things. Sometimes when your hair needs protein, it won't accept the moisture. So it's chipping and it's breaking off. Sometimes when your hair is dehydrated, it won't curl. It needs the moisture. So there's two different ways of understanding this hair. And so again, it takes it back to a professional. If your
Mm-hmm.
hair is limp and it's not like lifting up, it's not vibrant, it needs a protein treatment or something, some kind of treatment that is stronger than hydration.
Okay.
Reconstruction treatments. I mean, there's so many other treatments out here that can really help to bring back the integrity. If your
Mm-hmm.
hair is dull and it's just like super dry, you're sleeping on cotton, your diet's terrible, you've been drinking, you've been hanging out
Mm-hmm.
with your girlfriend, you've been in the sun, whatever it is, you need moisture.
Mm-hmm.
And what about this is that what you, a lot of these products that are designed, the first thing that you see is they say moisture. What that does is it weighs down the outer layer of the hair. You need things that are saying hydration and weightless because
Right.
immediately hydration goes internally. Weightless means that it's not sitting on the outer layer of your hair. So those are
Right.
important factors when you're shopping in these aisles. Two components to look for: not moisture, hydration.
Okay. That's a good one for people to remember. I think also the word moisture is thrown around a lot, not hydration. So again, we'll make sure we make note of that when we share this episode too. But last question from me. I mean, I can only imagine how busy you must be with working with so many people and all the projects that you're involved in. So it would be great to know what's next for you, what's next for Kendall.
What's next for Kendall? So Kendall Dorsey is working on tools. We're bringing out a blow dryer and a flat iron. Really, like we're working on development right now.
Wow.
Um, Products. I have a new studio in Los Angeles. It's really just
Amazing.
branding Kendall Dorsey's name, the man now.
Okay.
I'm getting older, so we got to slow it down soon. I want a husband and a family, so it's really about taking the knowledge now and putting it into a package and giving it back to the world.
Hmm.
Education.
Wow.
And so, yeah, but the one thing what I wanted to leave with is that it took me so long to share the true identity of Kendall Dorsey, the back end story, and so many things. But
Hmm.
what my mission is to make sure that the little boy or girl that is in Wyoming or Michigan or these small states, you hear me and you hear me clear. If you're in a situation where it feels like you cannot get out, stay steadfast. Find every avenue, every program, every financial outlet that you can possibly find to change your situation and your circumstance. I did everything I possibly could, and it worked. I had no idea. No one told me to do this. I'm telling you, the man, Kendall Dorsey, today, go to Google, go to your local churches, get 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 unruly. Do the things that you are afraid of. Ask for the help that you need. Reach out to the people that you need to reach out to. That is the beginning of your journey. It's going to get rough. It will get beautiful. It will get so beautiful that you won't even know what hit you. This right here is a testament. And that's my mission in this world.
That's amazing to hear. And I think really uplifting words to end on, to give people that, that ray of hope of you can go from dreaming to living the dream.
Yeah.
It's about putting in the work and being really tenacious even when it's hard.
God makes no mistakes.
No, he makes no mistakes. And like you said, the path can be difficult, but it can be done. So
the path is difficult, but it's beautiful. Yes. And that's what I have to say.
I will.
And I'm
Thank
so
you.
grateful for you sharing this space with me, for us. And I hope this podcast reaches the people that it needs to reach and impacts them in the way that it needs to impact.
Thank you, Kendall. Like, honestly, I say this to the people that come on to our podcast to talk to us, because you have done the work, you have paved the way, you've created this space for people to be inspired to see your work. And I thoroughly believe in giving people their flowers, because I don't think it happens often enough, especially in this space. We spoke to Felicia Leatherwood the other day, and she said, people always say, who are you wearing? But nobody says who did your hair. When they go to those events, and I feel like there needs to be more of that, and shining a light on those stylists that are doing this incredible work. So thank you so much for all of the work that you've done, and for sharing your story with us today.
Thank you so much. Anytime, I would love to come back.
Oh, thank you. But that was amazing, and we're really, really grateful, not just to you, Kendall, but to everybody who listened and who's listening. If you enjoyed this chat, then please, first of all, make sure you make sure you subscribe. We'll also leave links to Kendall's social media so that you can follow him and more of his story as he's building out all these other amazing paths, such as the hair tools and his new salon. And yeah, we will see you all on the next episode. And I hope that you gained what you needed to gain from this one.
Thank you so much. We're signing off.